You have already seen them on the big screen. Now you have the chance to get up close and personal with some of the costumes from last year's biggest Oscar-nominated movies. At Los Angeles Museum, the work of the 5 Oscar-nominated costume designers including Barbie, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things are showcased at a new exhibition, allowing visitors to learn about the craftsmanship that went into each garment. Each of these films are so different. We have really creative, fantastical kind of costumes. And we also have a lot of historic films represented this year too. So I think it's going to be a really interesting race, said Christina Frank, the museum's curatorial specialist.
So each of these films are so different. We have really creative, fantastical kind of costumes, and we also have a lot of historic films represented this year too. So I think it's going to be a really interesting race.
Costumes really are integral to the characters, and the viewer really feels that. So I think when you look at the costumes, you really see who's Barbie without her Barbie doll clothes. How do you know you are looking at Napoleon without seeing this regal coronation garment? So I think it's definitely the skill. You are seeing some of the highest skilled costume designers in the business, she added.
Costumes really are integral to the characters, and the viewer really feels that. So I think when you look at the costumes, you really see who's Barbie without her Barbie doll clothes. How do you know you're looking at Napoleon without seeing this regal coronation garment? So I think it's definitely the skill. You're seeing some of the highest skilled costume designers in the business, but it's also that perfect match of the right costume designer, the right film, the right director that really brings the story together. Ellen Moroznik and the director, Christopher Nolan, they describe it not so much as a biopic, but more as a portrait of Oppenheimer. And so the costume designer, had a little bit more to play with. She wanted to create this impression, this representation of him. And she did it a lot through costume elements, in particular his hat. So we're here in Barbie Land, the costumes all designed by Jacqueline Durant. And this is such a fun film, but Jacqueline Durant really did her research, going into the Mattel archives and really pouring through the 50 plus years of Barbie history. So when you talk about it with costume, it's such a big part of the story because Barbie, the doll, she's whatever identity she's dressed as, whether it's Dr. Barbie or astronaut Barbie or Barbie as we have here. So behind me are costumes worn by Lily Gladstone and Leonardo DiCaprio in Scorsese's film Killers of the Flower Moon. So the costumes were designed by Jacqueline West. But to take on this project, she really relied on the help of Julie O'Keefe, who acted as an Osage costume consultant on the film. Getting the accuracy and representing the Osage people correctly was so important to both of them. So Poor Things was designed by Holly Waddington, and it's such a fun film because it kind of defies genres in a lot of ways. It's got a little bit of fantasy, sci-fi, and some fashion history, and it's kind of all mixed in a way that I think has really actually influenced fashion as well as the silver screen. Because Joaquin Phoenix is vegan, the costume designers had to find alternate solutions. So when you look at these boots, they would typically be done in leather. Napoleon Bonaparte would have been wearing leather boots. But the designers found an alternative to leather to use, and they're still able to maintain the patina of the look and still give an authentic look to the costume. When you look at the military jacket, those would have always been made in a heavy wool material. But because he prefers not to wear wool, the designers used a cotton instead and were able to kind of give it the same heavy feeling as a wool military coat of the period would have had.
This year's Oscar-nominated costume designers include Jacqueline for Barbie, Ellen for Oppenheimer, Jacqueline West for Killers of the Flower Moon, Holly Weddington for Poor Things, and Genty Yates and Dave Grossman for Napoleon.
I was really excited to see the Barbie ones because those are the only ones that I really knew were here, but I'm just excited to see all of them. I love just looking at them and seeing them up close, versus on the screen. It's so cool to see.
I honestly think that it has to be Barbie. Barbie is one of my favorite movies ever. I don't know what it was, just the women empowerment of it all. It was so good. Yeah.
This is the first time I've been here. I wanted to see the movie. I did see the movie. It's about 3 hours long, and it was fascinating about the development of the nuclear bomb. But I know it took some time to get these costumes together. I'm glad it got the nominations that it did. And I'm looking forward to seeing the Oscars this Sunday.
The museum is part of Los Angeles' Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising.